Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I am Eric, and after ranking Ronde's roller coasters, I felt it was important to talk about some of the other rides, as they have quite a great flat ride collection at Ronde, so this is the top 10 rides at Ronde. Before we begin this ranking, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out. At Theme Park Avenue, we do rankings like this, but we also do reviews of parks, and plenty of other content both serious and funny. So for this list, I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite rides in the park. I did not ride every single ride here, but it's going to mostly be roller coasters and flat rides. Now that we have that out of the way, let's begin the list. Number 10 is Toboggan Nordique. This Wild Mouse is a pretty fun one, and as far as Wild Mouse coasters go, it's among my favorites. There's a few drops that are quite thrilling, and none of the hairpin turns are painful, unlike pretty much every other Wild Mouse coaster out there. So I enjoy this one quite a bit. On top of that, you have a pretty fun theme. And it's definitely an underrated ride overall because no one's talking about this Wild Mouse. It's by Zamperla, so it's very different from the mock ones. And overall, I'd say it's definitely a must if you go to this park. Number 9 is Chaos. This is the Larson Super Loop. And I don't think these rides are all that great. I enjoy the hang time parts where you slowly do a full circle in the loop, but there aren't a whole lot of those, more than some of the others, and it's a very intense ride, but it's not quite as fun as others. It's not as disorienting as it seems at first, and I can see why this would be one of your favorites in the park, but it ranks a little lower for me. Number 8 is Dragon. This indoor coaster is quite a fun one. Its first drop is not quite as good as the similar Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure, but it is a more powerful layout overall, and there are some fun theming elements that I won't spoil here. I wish there were more of them, but they are nice and they add to the ride overall. Number 7 is Vol Ultime. This is the park's Sky Screamer, and these rides are always fun. You spin somewhat fast, and you get a great view of the park. This park is in one of the most beautiful locations of any Six Flags park, or any park with a Sky Screamer or Wind Seeker at that, so this is one of my favorites of this type of ride. It goes up and then down and then up and then down, and it's pretty fun to do that. The view is definitely the best part, and that's the kind of thing that makes you think, since the observation tower is never open, you'll definitely want to ride this if you want a great view of the park. Number 6 is Orbite. This S&S drop tower is quite a good one. Part of that is for the great view as previously mentioned for Vol Ultime, but it's also a pretty powerful launch as far as S&S towers go. It's not the best of them, but it's pretty close. It's a short ride, but a fun drop tower, and definitely among the better rides in the park. Number 5 is Le Monstre. Le Monstre is an underrated wooden coaster in my experience. Many people really hate this one, and I get that it's not the most powerful layout and not the smoothest of wooden coasters technically, but there was only one really rough moment after one of the drops, and I feel that the drops are quite powerful overall, and definitely the highlight of the ride. Some parts might meander a little, but what's more important for me is that it's a long and fun ride, and weaving through the structure is always a blast. I wish they dueled the cars, as they do kind of have that capability, but maybe there is a structural issue. Personally, I do not want this to get RMC'd. I enjoy the ride quite a bit, and it's an underrated wooden coaster overall. Number 4 is Demon. This flat ride is possibly one of the flagship attractions of the park. It is quite disorienting, and just watching it from off the ride is awesome. It's just as fun to watch, honestly, than it is to ride. And what's interesting is that this ride does have one flaw, and that is the restraints are quite tight because of how disorienting this ride is. It's very important to keep you in the car, obviously, but it means you will not have control of your arms for the majority of the ride experience. And that is somewhat uncomfortable, but once the ride begins, you don't care too much. There are parts where you're upside down and your head gets frighteningly close to the ground. So this is definitely the most thrilling ride in the park for me, and I think it's an absolute blast, and definitely one of the best flat rides in the area, and possibly one of the best flat rides in the world. Number 3 is Titan. This Zamperla Giga Discovery is my second favorite of this ride type. It's not the fastest per se of them all, but you still get great airtime as you go up and down, and at the top and apex of each certain revolution, I think getting to fly out of your seat is a very fun experience. What really stands out about this ride though is its setting. It's right along the water, so you're very likely to be face to face with the water at certain points, and that makes for a striking visual on the ride that adds to it in a way that pretty much no other Discovery can add to. So as far as Frisbee rides go, this is one of my favorites and definitely a great ride. Number 2 is Vampire. Le Vampire is a B&M invert that is a clone of Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America and several other Batman the Ride clones at Six Flags parks. The big thing with this one is that it has a different theme. The queue still looks nice, a bit overgrown, but it's fun to walk through this one. And then on the ride, you have everything that Ednor is not. A smooth ride experience that is still intense and enjoyable, and a very fun ride overall. Some of the inversions, such as the vertical loops and the zero-G roll, are especially strong, and the ride is incredibly fast-pacing. I hit my head maybe once or twice, but that's about it. It's a very fun ride in any row, and it's an absolute blast. Definitely a much better ride than pretty much anything else that has been on the list so far. The jump from 3 to 2 is pretty substantial, and this is definitely a great B&M invert. But number 1 is Goliath. This B&M is definitely a blast if you enjoy airtime as I do. The floater airtime is excellent. There is so much of it, more hills than possibly most B&M hypers, and this is a somewhat scaled down hypercoaster as it's less than 200 feet tall. You go very far out on the island, and as you make the return trip, you will get a surprising pop of ejector at the end, making for one of the best finales of any B&M roller coaster. It's an underrated ride, and I'd say it's right up there with most B&M hypers. A definite blast, and possibly one of my favorite roller coasters in Canada. Of the ones I've done, I'd say it's top 3. It's a great ride overall, and easily the best attraction at La Ronde. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your favorite rides at La Ronde if you've been. Otherwise, comment down below any other videos you'd like to see. Subscribe for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.